call is now being recorded.
Would you like me to respond to the first question then?
Well, if you could, just please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the memo.
Okay. I am retired from a couple previous careers, and I had the idea for a memo actually 20 years ago when I was taking care of my mother who had Alzheimer's. And I haven't had time to work on it until the summer of 2010. I had a break in my work schedule and was able to start working on it then, and it's just kind of blossomed into another career for me since then. The memo came about as a result of my own experience caring for my mom and understanding how memory loss so dramatically affects a person's life. It just makes everyday life very chaotic. The person never knows what day it is or what to expect and doesn't understand what's happening and has to be reminded many times of things, frequently repeats questions and stories and things for the caregiver. So it has a dramatic effect both on the person experiencing memory loss and on the family caregiver. So Memo was born in response to those kinds of situations, and it simply provides information every day, all day long, that the person needs to remember. And we think the reason it's successful is that it allows family caregivers to provide this information on a very constant basis without being physically present. They can post messages from any place where they have internet access. So they could be at work or in a distant city, in their own home or wherever, and they can respond to the person's needs remotely.
Can you tell me a little bit about the device itself?
It's built on the Arcos 101 Android tablet. It's a 10-inch tablet that looks a little like the iPad, but it came to market actually as a competitor to the iPad about a year ago. And our software overrides all of the original programming so that an elder who does not have internet experience or computer experience cannot accidentally touch an icon or pull up a menu or go out onto the internet and get very confused and frustrated about things. So the person will see only what the family decides is appropriate. And a person can start very simply with just the day, date, and time and maybe one message. That message will either crawl across the screen, or it can be set to fade in and out, and a person can vary the speeds of the messages. And when the person is used to that, or if they have a little more technical experience, the family can add other features, such as today's weather, photo albums, phone list, and so on, that are accessible by touch screen. And then they can also add a calendar where they can add repeating events. They can put audio alerts on those events to draw the person's attention. And there's a to-do list that will display things the person needs to remember to do that day.
What do you find is the greatest need for such a program like this?
Well, I think it's pretty well established that we have an oncoming onslaught of an aging population susceptible to Alzheimer's disease and other progressive diseases. And everyone's goal, I think, is to keep people in their own homes as long as possible. No one wants to leave their own family home and go into a facility if that's not really necessary. So when the main challenge to independent living is memory impairment, so the person can't remember what day it is and what they're supposed to do and what's happening, the memo can provide enough assistance sometimes to help people in their own homes. So it's appropriate for people who have early-stage dementias or mild cognitive impairment, and that could be the result of a progressive disease, but it might also be a head injury or stroke, and there are several other causes of that kind of memory loss. And so we estimate very roughly that there are something like 1.5 million to 2 million people in the United States at this time who have that kind of memory impairment. So we're hoping it will help a large number of people.
Absolutely. Do you find that there's any hidden benefits or particular benefits for the caregivers?
Well, we designed it as much for the caregiver as for the person with memory loss. It's hard for people who have not been in that situation to understand how terribly confusing and frustrating and stressful it is when people that you care about can't remember things. And the caregivers are frequently taking many phone calls during the same day asking the very same question. Or they're making many phone calls during the day, or they're stopping by the person's house frequently to update a calendar or leave a Post-it note. And we think the memo can help family caregivers keep their lives on track and reduce the amount of time and frustration spent on repetitious things, so that the time they do spend with their loved one can be a little more productive and fruitful and focused on things that are pleasurable instead of dealing with the constant memory loss issues.
Obviously, the goal for many is to age in place. Reality is sometimes that doesn't happen. Can this be used in a more structured setting, such as an assisted living facility where they try to maintain as much independence but need some help with, daily living activities?
Yes, we have not had the opportunity to pilot it in an assisted living facility yet, but we're very interested in doing that. And we think that it will help paid caregivers in facilities as much as it does family caregivers reduce the amount of time and stressful time that they spend with repetitive care, repeating information, and allow them to have more productive and pleasant interactions with their residents. And we are developing a plan for marketing this to assisted living and home care agencies so that they can help their own staff deal with the need for constant repetition.
What do you think, what are your customers saying so far about Memo?
Well, we've been piloting this for almost a year now, and we have learned several things about how it should be introduced and how it should be used that I think will be helpful. There's a list of tips for introducing Memo on our website. The initial experience, if the family doesn't do it in a thoughtful, planned manner, can be negative. Many people who need the memo have had negative experiences with computers and technology in the past, and they kind of reject it outright. And they especially reject it if it comes as a kind of insult. If someone says, for example, "Grandma, you really need this because your memory is so bad." That's a very bad way to introduce it. So what we've learned is that if the person rejects it, the family should immediately drop the subject, put it away, and reintroduce it at a later time. And often the person kind of rejects it. It takes them time to get used to this new thing in their environment, especially if they're not computer savvy to begin with. And so it takes time, and because of that, we have adjusted our return policy so that people have 3 months to introduce the memo over and over again if that's necessary, and give the person time to adjust to it. Once they have adjusted to it, and so, of course some people do it very quickly, but once they've adjusted to it, it becomes a very valuable and necessary part of their daily life. And they'll gradually start checking it for information when they have questions, and when they find answers there, they'll start using it, and it's been a very pleasant experience for both the elder and their family members.
Now, is there a concern for privacy? I know a lot of people are concerned about, things being live on the internet and through the cyber world of privacy issues. Is there any concerns with that?
Well, we do have the family caregiver site in a secure website, and it's accessible only through password, and the family can change the password as frequently as they need to. So it's really up to the person who purchases the memo that person becomes the administrator of the site and can give the password to other persons in the family or paid caregivers or whatever. But it really is up to that family caregiver, the primary account holder, to protect the privacy by changing the password, giving it out appropriately, and so on.
Merilee, what are the costs associated with Memo?
Well, the tablet we sell the tablet for the same price that it's available for in the retail market, $2.99. And then in addition to that, the family needs a subscription to our family caregiver website, which they can purchase at 6 months for $29 a month, or a discount for a year's subscription, which is $300 or $25 a month. Those are the only two costs. And then if they renew the subscription for the second year, of course, they don't have to buy the tablet, so it would be $300 to operate it for a year. We understand that that's a big outlay of cash for most families, but compared with the cost of having home health care workers come in, or just the cost of in time and gas and so on that family caregivers are currently spending stopping by their house to keep things straight, it's probably a very reasonable cost.
Are there other advantages over other monitoring systems that you'd like to mention?
Well, yes. Now, the Memo does not monitor. There are many systems that are coming to market, or a few already on the market, that have more advanced technology that senses the environment, that records and monitors activity, uses algorithms to detect times when the person is out of their normal schedule, can even sense things like temperature in the environment, take blood pressure, and serve as a platform for medical information and so on. We decided not to get into any of those advanced technologies because we wanted a very simple targeted device that does one thing and does one thing very well. I think there are many other devices coming to market that do what Memo does. They do the reminders, but unlike Memo, they offer that service along with quite a few other features, such as the simplified email, video chat, photo sharing, a whole lot of other features. And because of that, it's not appropriate for the same population that Memo is designed for. Once a person's short-term memory is impaired, it's very difficult for them to learn new things because short-term memory is the gateway to long-term memory where learning occurs. So if a person doesn't already know, for example, how to use the touch screen or how to access the Internet or how to use email, if they don't already have those skills at the time memory loss occurs, it's very difficult for them to learn those things, and they can be very easily confused by having a menu spring up that they don't anticipate, or getting to a website and they don't know where they are and they don't know how to get back. So we've designed the Memo to be very targeted toward a group of people who have short-term memory loss and to simply be their memory assistant during the day. And we decided, it was a tough trade-off, but we decided not to get into other functions that are more expensive, more complicated for people to learn and use, and many of these things are not on the market yet. So Memo is different from all the other products that we're familiar with at this time.
Is there any additional information that you would like to add?
Well, I guess I would just say that thinking about my own mother and the last few years that she was able to live independently, we just hope that Memo will help a lot of people.
Is there a place that people can go to learn more and be able
Sure.
to bring this into their home?
Our website, www.memotouch.com, has a lot more information. And there's contact information there where people can easily email or phone in questions, and we'll answer those very promptly.
Fantastic.